Hey everyone, welcome back to Intuitive Messages for the Collective. I recognize it has been about 2 months since I have put out a new message, and that is not because there haven't been intuitive messages to share. It's just been life got really busy and full for me. And so some of my work, like my emails and my podcasting, got put to the side for a bit while I was doing some big transitioning. So my first little update to share with you before we get into the message for the week has to do with the fact that I moved. I have just recently found myself now as the newest resident of North Carolina. I'm really happy to be here, and it has been a decision that's been a long time coming for lots of different reasons. But it feels really good to claim a new city and a new state after having been pretty nomadic for the last 3 years. So if you find yourself ripe with recommendations about what to see and do in North Carolina, please send them my way. I am really enjoying all of the things that I have seen so far. I've been here about a month, and things are already starting to feel really good and settled and just connected, right? You always want your new place or anytime you launch into something new to feel like it's landing or resonating. And I'm really lucky that I feel like North Carolina has already done that for me. There are lots of reasons why this place finally kind of like hit the mark for all the things I had been looking for. But I'll say the biggest thing for me really had to do probably with timing. That I had a friend recently ask me about, like, how did you know when it was time to like really settle in or say yes to a particular place? And it was a great question because I have been, quote unquote, on the hunt for a long time. And there have been several really strong contenders of places I would love to live. But for a variety of reasons and circumstances, just either it didn't feel like it was the right time or the right opportunities were available for me to make the shift. And it really got me thinking a lot about the concept of time and the divine order of things and the way that certain circumstances or situations have to unfold so that you can step into the next thing ready and available. And honestly, that's kind of how North Carolina feels at the moment. That when I first looked at it, it was the fall of 2024, and a variety of things happened that really kind of protected me from saying yes to North Carolina prematurely. Because I think if I had done it then, it would be a very different experience than the one I am having now, almost 2 years later. So it's important to acknowledge and recognize when we are in the midst of big change to not lose sight of the fact that as things are unfolding in the ways that they are, to really lean into the trust and the acceptance of how it has shown up and happened. And I think that's why when I revisited the idea of living in North Carolina, it got to feel different. I got to experience this place and explore these various cities here with a different set of eyes and a different set of circumstances that I had been, working through or dealing with, that allowed me to make the decision with just a more comprehensive view of what I would really be wanting or needing in my next community. So it's one of those little reminders about like time really is on our side, even when it feels like if something is taking a really long time. I've often sort of teased that if I had known in April of 2023 that it would take me 3 years to find the next place that I really wanted to live, I'm not sure that I would have stepped into it as readily as I did. But that's the beauty of hindsight, right? That we can look over those moments and experiences and recognize how much needed to unfold and happen to kind of get you to where you needed to be in the next place. And so here I am. And I want to share today's intuitive message with this context because so much of my life has been undergoing like major change. And I've talked about that many times here on the podcast. And that change is pretty much the only constant in our lives, right? We can always count on the fact that things are going to change. Like it's rarely, if ever, going to stay static or the same. And there's great benefit to that, but it also can create a lot of anxiety and uncertainty and doubt when we're trying to move through those experiences. There's something that I've been reflecting on recently that's been kind of a funny little thing to notice in like the physical experience of change. So I'll start by saying that I wear these really thin, small chain bracelets on my wrist. And they've been typically gold for the last several years. And I often will wear 2 or 3, sometimes up to 4. And I leave them on as my bracelets all the time. I sleep with them. I shower with them. It's a rare, moment when I take them off or am not wearing them. And in fact, there were 3 bracelets that I had been wearing for the better part of 7 or 8 years. In fact, I think I might have been wearing one of them closer to 10 years. And it's really interesting because as I was moving out of Massachusetts, and I think I had a short stint in New Jersey, and as I was packing up and leaving New Jersey in preparation to come to North Carolina, those bracelets all broke. And that is the strangest thing because I don't know that there was a really strong precipitating event that caused them to break. I don't remember slamming it against something or catching it on a zipper or a piece of clothing. Literally, and they didn't all break at the same time, but they each broke individually, and it felt somewhat sudden. All of a sudden I noticed the bracelet had broken and was on the floor or in the kitchen or near my bed. And it was the strangest thing that all 3 of these had broken in their own right. And not in a way that you could really repair them either. They happened to just break at certain junctures in their chains that it was gosh, I don't know, I'd have to maybe take it back to a jeweler to have it resoldered or kind of figure out a way to repair it. Now, I should preface this by saying these were not very precious. They were certainly nice bracelets, and I probably paid, I don't know, maybe $100 or $150 for each one. So they weren't cheap, but they also weren't family heirlooms or anything that, I would have been really devastated to have lost. But in reflecting on the fact that all of these bracelets broke just before I was moving to North Carolina, I couldn't help but see the symbolism of that, that this part of me that literally I wear every day and had been wearing for years and years was now no longer going forward, that it was no longer going to be worn on my physical body as I was moving into this new space and time in my life. And I couldn't help but feel the perfect synchronicity of that there are aspects of myself that needed to end with this former, not that I had this terrible life or anything that I wanted to shed and never remember again about my years in Massachusetts or New Jersey, etc., but that there's aspects of who I was in those various places and spaces that weren't going to be serving me going forward into my new place. And so it was this perfect physical reminder that this new version of me didn't need those old bracelets. And so if I wanted to buy new bracelets, I could. And funny enough, I actually did buy a couple new ones because I really like wearing. I think it's a fun, easy piece of jewelry that I can have. But it seemed important that I have these bracelets for this new version and this new phase of my life, as opposed to whatever those previous versions of myself were connected with those bracelets. So the intuitive message this week really is about that concept of the version of you that probably needs to go as you are venturing into new territories, whether that is a physical move or space like I've done, or just a phase of your life, or a change in a relationship, or a a shift in perhaps your work or your business. Like, we're all amidst some element of change, no matter how small or significant it may seem. And the version of ourselves that was associated with this sort of former version, it's like we've needed permission to say, it's okay to let it go, that it served us for the time that it was needed. And now there's a new version of you that is needed to step forward for the new story, the new era, the new things that are coming for each of us. And so in this physical representation of the bracelets, and I still have the bracelets. I kept them in my jewelry box, not because I needed to hold on to the memory, but I did want to remember that there was a version of me that was very sacred and very special, and she worked really hard to get herself to this phase. And so the newest version of me, as I continue to iterate, and we all do, can then welcome all the new things that are headed our way. And I hope then you can see the value and the purpose for the letting go and the entering into the new. So this week, I'm really happy that I've had a chance to share this message and connect with you a little bit more about the story of my own transition. And I look forward to sharing new aspects of the work and the ways that I want to talk to you a little bit about the growth in my business and the growth in my own personal life. So there's lots more to come, but I'm grateful for the time to be with you, and I look forward to connecting again soon.